Whether you want to admit to it or not, your consciousness has been hijacked. Most of us, unless you've done this work, do not live as your true form, your true self, your true being, your true essence of what you could truly be, who you truly are within. Fear has been injected into the human psyche for hundreds and thousands of years. I mean, who knows what the real story of the human race is, but it's very obvious now. They use fear to try to keep us in our place. And we've just normalized living in fear. We've normalized so much crazy shit in the world and in our daily lives. Like, I mean, person to person, you normalize being in toxic relationships. You eventually learn, but normalize toxic relationships, toxic work environments, eating toxic food, watching toxic bullshit on the news, or doom scrolling on Instagram or whatever social media. Normalized war, normalized genocide, normalized that the money we work for is just printed out of thin fucking air. It's just straight up monopoly money. It's the world's greatest Ponzi scheme. Not backed by anything. They can just print it out of thin air whenever they deem necessary, depending on the CPI and inflation. Blah, blah, blah. All the complicated, sophisticated, nuanced, made up bullshit they tell you. So you think it's all normal. And, you grow up thinking it is. What are the implications of all this? Because it doesn't seem like, on a day-to-day basis, it sure doesn't seem like every decision you're making is based off of fear. It's more of an underlying foundation in a lot of people. And if it wasn't, then you'd quit your job right now. You don't feel like you're getting paid enough? Quit. Why aren't you quitting? You don't have faith in the government anymore? Don't pay your taxes. Why are you still paying your taxes? Why haven't you started that business you want to start? Why haven't you talked to that girl you want to try to date? Why haven't you done any of the things that you wish you would have done by now? Well, it's plain and simple. It's fear. And it's been injected into us and taken over our consciousness, and it keeps us from being the true individuals that we are, the powerful, extremely capable, infinite beings that we are. I used to think I didn't live in fear, really. I mean, I knew there's fear in there, but seemingly on surface level, I always kind of lived life by my own rules, somewhat. I don't live in fear. I ain't scared. Oh man, was I fucking wrong. Was I ever wrong? It's not until you really, truly put yourself in a situation where all that deeply rooted deeply embedded fear starts to come to the surface. Because when you're working your job, you're comfortable, you got your bills covered, life's more or less comfortable, more or less having, a comfortable lifestyle at least. It's like, I don't live in fear. I'm tough. I ain't scared. Yeah. Once you put yourself in a position where all that shit is forced to come out to surface level, you realize just how fucking much fear you actually have. It's crazy. It's crazy. And you start to notice it every single moment of your day. And your ego is just constantly trying to get you to worry about something. That fucking ego is a parasite. And it constantly wants to feed on your fear, on your anxiety, on your depression, on your stress, on all that shit. And until you take some time, really sit back and zoom out and take a look in, you really have no idea, because you quite honestly go through life, pretty comfortably. You may not live the life you wanted, but at least you're comfortable. You could pretty much go through life that way. I mean, I think eventually it's going to catch up, but you can always just keep burying it. There's always more alcohol and fucking cars and worthless horse shit that you can buy to fucking try to cover it up, but I think eventually it's going to come out. But most of your life, you can live this way. I'm successful. I'm established. I got a house and a family and kids and everything's great. I hope it is. I hope it is. And a lot of people do this work without even knowing it, without even realizing that a lot of people are just more positive and just are able to control their way of thinking better and not live in such fear all the time. But needless to say, if you have avoided it, it's a lot. And once you look at it and you're like, holy shit. Yeah. I've lived a lot of my life that way. And you can still accomplish things, still have fun, still live an enjoyable life. There's success that could still be had, achievements, all the things, of course. But there's still that underlying doubt and fear that you realize that you didn't take a look at before. But realistically, a lot of us feel this fear on a day-to-day basis. And, just the anxiety you feel, the stress you may feel, the depression you may feel, complacency, procrastination, all these things are just branches off of fear. Now, fear is not completely unnecessary. If I was sitting here worrying that a fucking mountain lion's gonna come sneak up on me, that's unnecessary. But if there's a mountain lion right there in the moment and I see it, that fear, that fight or flight that kicks in, is absolutely necessary. The problem nowadays is a lot of us in society just live in that mode constantly. Live from a place of fight or flight. Constantly worrying about work, constantly worrying about your bills, constantly worrying about your relationship, constantly worrying about, your children or your relatives, constantly worrying about going to war, constantly worrying about when is the fucking matrix just gonna fall apart and collapse? Constantly something. There's always something there. The ego is extremely clever, and it's constantly trying to fucking implant shit into your head all the fucking time. So there's a time and a place to feel fear, to feel that. And you kind of need to learn that growing up. You kind of need to learn when that's necessary. Because you don't want to just be completely unaware in life. I ain't worried about shit. And then, fall off the cliff right here. Like, you need your awareness. You need to be on it. Not on edge, but you want to be in tune with your senses. And ironically, being in anxiety and fear all the time just fucking kills your senses. It just doesn't allow you to be present in the moment and be aware of what's really going on around you. And so it's actually taken away from how you're perceiving the world at any given time when you are in that state. Yeah, I'm very grateful and thankful that I have been able to step back and take a look at just how much fear I was really living in, my entire life. And again, if you know me, it's like, well, you probably weren't living in fear. What are you talking about? It's like, well, it's all in the head. It's literally all in the head. And it's incessant. And the ego just does not quit. It's just constantly telling you what to be worried about. So where does this all come from? Where's all this fucking fear coming from? Well, obviously, in the government, institutions, being raised in public school, potentially could have came from your parents, whatever. It doesn't really matter where it came from. And I'm absolutely leading to something here. No matter how you got that fear in you, you cannot hold resentment and hold a grudge and hatefulness and judgment and blame whatever institution or government or your parents or ex-girlfriend or, boss or coworker or whatever. Because that only leads to more negative thinking and more negative situations. And that's one of the hardest fucking things to come to terms with, is just learning how to forgive all these people. Forgive where you think and feel you got all your fear from. You got to let that go. That has to be let go in order for you to evolve and grow within yourself. Because the more resentment and grudges you hold and judgments you make outwardly towards people, it's just bringing it right back to you. If you're out there resenting someone, then you can imagine people are resenting you and judging you and talking shit about you behind your back and all that shit. So what is it? There is literally nothing beneficial about that. And that I've had a very hard time coming to terms with those things. And hey, mom and dad, if you're listening, not you guys. I don't have resentment or judgment for you guys. Love you. My issue has always been the fucking system, government, goddamn government. That's a big one. That's a tough one. You see how they spend your tax dollars. You see how they lie to you and manipulate you and exploit you. You see what they do. It's very hard not to have resentment there, but I think that's the way. I honestly feel that is the way. We're gonna fucking make this place any better. We can't just respond to our leaders with the same energy that they give to us. That's why society is in the place that it is because there's just, all these people treat me like shit, so I'm going to treat them like shit, and then nothing fucking good comes out of it, ever. And that's how a lot of relationships are. It's just like constant bickering and conflict back and forth. It's so fucking toxic, and it's not beneficial to either individual. So I think we have a decision to make in society, and it's, well, a couple of decisions, but obviously acknowledging how much fear most of the human beings on the planet live in. And then what to do about it. Because if you just keep living in fear, I mean, fear is a catalyst to violence. Fear is a catalyst to war. Fear is a catalyst to all the horrible shit going on. I mean, obviously, once you realize that, you realize living in fear is the cause of all the shit going on. And it's just this vicious, endless cycle of fucking empires rising and collapsing and rising and collapsing and world war. No. This is the time. We're all feeling something. You're watching this video because you're feeling something. You were guided to this video because you feel something inside of you. Whether or not you agree with the things I say, you were still guided here by something greater than yourself to expose you to this information because you feel something isn't right. Where we are in human history is not just another point. We are absolutely at a pinnacle. We're absolutely at a very unique and elevated point in human history that has not happened before. And it has everything to do with consciousness. And it's just the natural evolution of consciousness to start becoming aware of itself. This is a massive point in the collective consciousness, not of just humans, but fucking everything. We're becoming far more self-aware. You know, there's obviously philosophers and people down the line in history, Jesus, Buddha, you name them. A lot of people that have spoken on this, but obviously people were not ready at that time. The human consciousness hasn't been ready until now. And now we are ready. Now we are at that point. Now it's finally beginning to rise and break through. And people are identifying and becoming aware of just how fucking insane this world is. Like, what are we doing? What on God's earth are we doing? So, I'm still going through all this and, learning how to do all this work myself. But, there's one thing you can truly start doing is start being aware of what you're thinking about. Start catching your thoughts. It's nonstop. Start observing your thoughts. And here's what I'm trying to do this all day. It's a full-time job. But I start my morning with a cup of coffee, at least for 30 minutes. Start my morning with a cup of coffee. No phone, no radio, music, no TV, no distractions, period. Sit in a chair and I just observe the thoughts coming into my head and try to be conscious of it. Because it's very easy to have a thought come in and then roll with that thought. And then what happens there is you just become that. You identify yourself with that thought and you become it. I'm going to fuck your morning up here. It can be any time of day. But if you start your morning like this, instead of doom scrolling, looking at your phone or whatever, some sort of horse shit, start your day by observing what's coming in. No distractions. Just observe what's coming into your head. All these thoughts, all these worries, concerns about your day ahead of you, concerns about the future, things from the past. Or, and it's not always bad, but a lot of times it's just fucking random. I mean, it's not like we're not conscious, but to always be conscious of the thoughts in your head is a whole nother story. And this is where it starts. It's like catching yourself, starting your day like that, first of all, but then throughout your day, catching yourself when you start going down a negative path, or you start thinking about something from the past, or you start worrying about something ahead in the future. Catch that. Stop it. And then look at it, observe it. Once you do that, you are creating a space around that thing. You have just become more self-aware. You've just become detached from that idea instead of identifying with it, because normally when you're thinking about something throughout your day, you're identifying with these things. You're making them who you are when it's not who you are. And all this fucking talk about identity in the world is truly not what we want to do. We don't want to be constantly identifying with these things. It is not who you are. And I think that's a lot of this identity talk all over mainstream media, that wherever you see it, I just hear a lot of talk about identity. People need an identity. It's like, those are just experiences that you have. That is not who you are. Now, you can still be proud. You can still be good, amazing at it. You can still love it. But once you start identifying with things, you're boxing yourself in. You're closing yourself off, because the ego does not like experiences that do not fit within that identity. So if there's an experience over here that doesn't fit your precious little identity over here, it's going to reject that, even if that thing is really good for you. That's not me. Oh, I can't do that. What do my friends think? See, it's ridiculous. We don't need to identify with everything we do. So when you're having these constant thoughts coming in and you're rolling with them, you're letting them go, you go with them, you are identifying yourself with that. I've carried a lot of anxiety and fear in my life, and I made that my identity without realizing it. Every time I'd think about myself, oh, I'm anxious, I'm always in fear, instead of I experience anxiety, I experience fear, but that's not who I am. I do not identify with those things anymore, especially the bad things. You do not want to identify with shitty, negative ideas. Obviously, you want to be aware of it, but all these things we identify with are truly closing us off from going further within ourselves and understanding who we truly are. So, if you're not already practicing this, I mean, we do throughout our life all the time. Stop ourselves, you're in a conflict and you're like, oh, hold on, I shouldn't do that, But when you're busy throughout your day and you start having thoughts coming in, you start to become those thoughts and you don't even realize where your head's going, how the wheels are spinning, and you're just going with it instead of being like, hold up. None of that's fucking healthy for me. What am I doing? Once you do that, you're creating self-awareness and you're creating a space between you and that toxic way of thinking. So, I think I'll end it here. Try this. If you don't do this, try this. Start becoming conscious and aware of the thoughts that are constantly coming into your head. I mean, some people definitely have more thoughts than others. Now that I've always been a quiet person too, so it's like on the outside it might seem like I might not be thinking that much, but on the inside it's just once you become conscious of it, it's like, holy shit, this does not fucking stop. If you can create gaps in between these thoughts, that right there is your true being. That stillness there. You're not dissecting anything. You're not worried. You're not anxious. You're not paranoid. That gap between thoughts right there is your true form. And the goal is obviously to make those gaps as wide as possible and just be, just exist. Now, obviously, we have things to do all day. We're people. We want to create. We want to build. We want to do things. But if you have the time, I mean, if you're working on something passionate, if you're passionate with something and you're very focused on it, notice that there's probably not many thoughts coming in at that time. But like me, and I'm sure people I know, when I was at work, I would have a million thoughts coming in all the time. Or whatever I was doing, it's just incessant. If you can become aware and observe and even break them apart a little bit and create gaps, that's the first step to really ridding yourself and separating yourself from fear and worry and doubt what's going to happen in the future. Thanks, guys. Peace.